We've been working this spring, even from the end of last year and this year, we've been working on certain themes of prophecy, and we've been working on understanding the theme of the 144,000. And we've talked about how the 144,000 came about as a concept, which is the 144,000 is the formula for a census. And the unit is the household. So whenever you conduct a census, you go to every house and count how many people are living there, how many kids, and so then you count how many animals, how many dogs, how many cats, whatever you want to count in a census. And then you determine from that what the economy is built on in every province and every state. And so then after that, and we come down to understanding the household, and that the household in the Bible is the highest authority in the land. And Israel got into problems when they wanted to have a king and replace the highest authority in the household with a king. And so now I want to spend some time in understanding prophetically the household, the unit, not the whole 144,000, but what makes up that household. Now, one of the things that we studied in 144,000, anybody that was above 21 years old and was able to go to war would be counted as a household, whether they were married or not, whether they were male or female or not. If they were over 21 and would be available to go to battle, they would be counted as a household. So in our church, when we start making applications of the 144,000, and our church is mostly made up of singles, people who are not married or no longer married or someday might get married after they get their education. And if time should last so long, I don't want to create any anxiety here, but a single counts as a household in the Bible. A single counts as a household. And what happened at Passover time, and even to a certain extent, when you commemorate the great acts of God, and you come together, singles form support groups in order to sustain each other socially in the community. And so, especially in modern times, lots of singles will go together and rent in an apartment together or live in apartments close together, or they will, like even in the neighborhood where our church is, you have several young couples and singles buy a house and they all share the house and the investment in the house together. So today I want to get into the household and the makeup of the household, and what I would like to do is read a portion about Jacob and contrast Jacob and Esau. These twins, born of the same mother, descendants of Abraham, descendants of Sarah. And they're living in the land together. But one is a patriarch of God, and the other one is not. Jacob has an appreciation for the home and the family. Esau never did. He never cared about family. He never cared about having a family that served God. He was a hunter. He was always away from home. He was a warrior. He never had a stable home that he founded, and even growing up together, he never liked to be at home. He considered Jacob a sissy because he herded sheep, because he had a garden, because he cooked, and he helped his mother. And so through this story, we start to understand a little bit how in the end time, when families disintegrate, you can't even keep Christian homes together in the days that we live in, because people value success more than the home. They value prosperity. They value some status symbol in society more than keeping the family together. So we're going to read this story, and I don't know if we'll get a chance today, but I want to start reading to you out of Adventist Home. If you are a single, even if you're not an Adventist, you should get a hold of the book, Adventist Home. How to find somebody to get married to. What is the responsibility of the father? What is the responsibility of the mother? What is the responsibility of the children? Because in this day and age, children raise themselves. And they find their family on the internet. They find their friends on the internet. They can't even make friends in a normal way because they don't even live in a neighborhood together. And so in the last days, we need to understand how to have a family, how to put it together, and how to build it to last forever. So if you take out your Bibles, I'm going to start this story in Jacob. I'm not going to read Genesis 28, but just these first verses that we find in Genesis 28, verse 11. Now, this week was so crazy and so hectic for me, I did my sermon on my phone. So in Genesis 28:11, this is Jacob. So it says, so he, Jacob, came to a certain place and stayed there all night because the sun had set. And he took one of the stones of that place and put it at his head, And he lay down in that place to sleep. Then he dreamed, and behold, a ladder was set up on the earth, and its top reached to heaven. And there the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. And behold, the Lord stood above it and said, I am the Yahweh, God of Abraham, your father, and the God of Isaac. The land on which you lie I will give to you and your descendants. Also your descendants shall be as the dust of the earth. You shall spread abroad to the west and the east, to the north and the south. Not just to the land that was given to Abraham. And in you and in your seed, this is a repetition that God gave a covenant to Abraham back in 22 and in 12. And in your seed, a singular seed, all the families of the earth shall be blessed. Behold, I am with you and will keep you wherever you go, and will bring you back to this land, for I will not leave you until I have done what I have spoken to you. That's a promise. No matter where you go, I will keep you and I will bring you back to this land. So then when we go to Genesis 32, starting in verse 1, Jacob comes back to the land because God told him to come back to the land. And when you read the first few verses, and you have to understand this, because you will misinterpret the story if you just read 33 by itself. It sounds like Jacob is only concerned for his own life and his own preservation. So in the Bible, you have to read more than one chapter at a time. Otherwise, you will misinterpret it. So in Genesis 32, starting in 1, it says, so Jacob went on his way. That's after he had made peace with Laban, who is the father of his two wives. Never marry two sisters. You are asking for trouble. So Jacob made peace, and they did the Mizpah thing, broke a rock and put it together, and each one kept a rock and said, the Lord be between me and thee, while we are absent one from another. Now that's the key to understanding this story, which is at the end of Genesis 31. The key to this story is God is with you and will help you build a forever home. It's a promise, forever and ever. You don't have to build it by yourself. It's hard to have a family if you're a man, because it's hard work. You work all day and bring home the paycheck, and then you got to work all night and all afternoon doing chores and keeping the home going, mowing the lawn, gardening. Having a family is hard work. Hard work for the man and hard work for the woman. A family cannot last if it's just the man and the woman. It has to have the Lord and the promise of the Lord to keep the family going forever. So Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. In a Hebrew translation, I have the angels accosted him. They said, "Hold it right there, buddy. You're coming back to the land. Let's make sure that you stay with the Lord and don't think that everything is on you and everything is about your blessings." So Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. When Jacob saw them, he said, when he saw the angels, he said, "This is God's camp." He says it with awe. He sees angels when he comes back. So when we go back to 28, when he leaves, he has this vision with angels coming up and down from heaven. So when he leaves, angels are promised to him wherever he goes, and God gives him the plan, the covenant, that if he goes, he's got to come back. And I will bless you to come back. And Jacob promises to pay God tithe, but he can't pay tithe until he has something to pay tithe on. So he says when he comes back, this is God's camp, and he's got all kinds of cattle and camels and sheep and riches and servants. And he called the name of that place Mahanaim. Now Mahanaim means two camps, or two or more camps. So in this story, Abraham starts to figure out a plan that includes God, so that he is going to divide his descendants and all of his riches into two camps. He does it because the angels have two camps. So he's not going to make any decisions unless he knows God is with him and he has angels on his side. So when the angels stop them, he has to be sure that the angels are on his side. I'll let that sink in a moment. When you have a family, not only do you have to accommodate the kids and accommodate the wife and accommodate the husband, in your household, you have to accommodate angels. You have to know that God is living with you and blessing you. The key to heaven is not through the church, it is through the home. It is through the household. And you have to know that angels are in your home. That your family is not chasing angels away from your home. So then Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau his brother in the land of Seir, the country of Edom, which is down by the Dead Sea. Jacob is coming from the north, from the Euphrates River, and coming to meet him is Esau. And he commanded them, saying, "Speak thus to my lord Esau. Thus your servant Jacob says, I have dwelt with Laban and stayed there until now. I have oxen, donkeys, flocks, and male and female servants, and I have sent to tell my Lord that I may find favor in your sight." I'm not coming to displace you. I'm not coming to take your birthright away from you that I fled and left behind, that you now have all the family inheritance, and I left with nothing. But I'm coming back because God is with me and blessed me. And I've got a lot of stuff, because I've got a big family. I've got 11 sons, I've got servants, and all I want is to find favor in your sight. Then the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, We came to your brother Esau, and he also is coming to meet you, and 400 men are with him. So Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people that were with him and the flocks and herds and camels into 2 companies. Is that because he had 2 wives, or is it because of the angels? Do you read the Bible? Do you interpret it right? And he said, if Esau comes to the one company and attacks it, then the other company which is left will escape. Then Jacob said, O God of my father Abraham, and God of my father Isaac, the Yahweh, who said to me, Return to your country and to your family, and I will deal well with you. I am not worthy, he continues, of the least of all the mercies and of all the truth which you have shown your servant. For I crossed over this Jordan with my staff, and now I have become 2 companies. Deliver me, I pray, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he come and attack me and the mother with the children. For you said, I will surely treat you well and make your descendants as the sand of the sea. He's quoting a promise from God. He's claiming a promise. He's putting his safety in the hand of God, not in his plan to divide his family into 2 camps, which cannot be numbered for multitude. So he lodged there the same night and took what came to his hand as a present for Esau, his brother. Okay. Esau and 400 men, right? So there's 200 female goats and 20 male goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams. So for each man that is riding with Esau, he's presenting a gift, their choice. They get a female goat or a female sheep. And then for every captain of 20, or they get the 20, these numbers become very symmetrical. For the captains, they get the ram or they get the male goat. 30 milk camels with their colts, 40 cows and 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys and 10 foals. This is all based on the report that Esau is coming with 400 armed men, bent on vengeance. Then he delivered them to the hand of his servants, all these gifts. Every drove by itself, and said to his servants, "Pass over before me and put some distance between successive droves." And he commanded the first one, saying, "When Esau my brother meets you and asks you, saying, 'To whom do you belong, and where are you going? Whose are these in front of you?' Then you shall say, 'They are your servant Jacob's,' not your brother, your servant. It is a present sent to my lord Esau. And behold, he also is behind us." And so he commanded the second and the third to all speak with the same message. Esau is coming. He's Santa Claus, and he's bringing presents, so that he might change the face of his brother from vengeance and anger to a smile and a face of grace. Okay, let's go to 33, chapter 33, which is the next chapter. So Jacob and Esau meet. And starting in verse 1, it says, "Now Jacob lifted his eyes and looked, and there Esau was coming, and with him were 400 men. So he divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and the 2 maidservants. And he put the maidservants and their children in front, Leah and her children behind, and Rachel and Joseph last." So is he hiding behind the skirts of the women? Or is he showing that without a birthright, God has prospered Jacob, and he's not coming back for Esau's birthright? And the gifts are to show that whatever divided them as brothers in the past no longer divides them. Then he crossed over before them and bowed himself to the ground 7 times until he came near to his brother. He walks a ways, then he bows down to his brother. Walks a little further, bows down again to his brother. Walks further, he does this 7 times. But Esau ran to meet him. He gets off of his horse and runs to his twin brother and embraced him and fell on his neck and kissed him, and they wept. The 2 brothers cried and kissed each other and wept. And he lifted his eyes and saw the woman and children and said through tears, "Who are these with you?" So he said, "The children whom God has graciously given your servant. Then the maidservants came near, and their children, and bowed down. And Leah also came near with her children, and they bowed down. Afterward, Joseph and Rachel came near, and they bowed down. So they were lined up according to the woman who had the most kids, whether they were wives or maidservants. Then Esau said, "What do you mean by all this company which I met?" And he said, "These are to find favor in the sight of my Lord." But Esau said, "I have enough, my brother. Keep what you have for yourself." And Jacob said, "No, please, if I have now found favor in your sight, then receive my present from my hand, inasmuch as I have seen your face as though I had seen the face of God." Because the night before, he had wrestled with the Christ and seen the face of God. Now his brother is the face of God. The brother that he had wrestled with from the womb and just about tore their mother apart, and wrestled with and fought with and manipulated with all through their youth. "Inasmuch I have seen your face as though I had seen the face of God." When we as Christians have long-term differences and arguments for years and years, they cannot be resolved until we see the face of our brother as the face of God. The fight will go on and on and on until you seek the favor of your brother and not try to conquer him or outdo him or outprosper him in your life in a competition from conception to death. "I have seen your face as though I had seen the face of God, and you were pleased with me. Please take my blessing that is brought to you, because God has dealt graciously with me, and because I have enough." So he urged him, and he took it. Then Esau said, and this is the point of the sermon, and the unit of the 144,000 and each household in it. Then Esau said, let us take our journey. Let us go, and I will go before you. I will be your escort, and we will ride through the land in triumph. But Jacob said, and this is the difference between Esau and Jacob. But Jacob said to him, my Lord knows that the children are weak, and the flocks and herds which are nursing are with me. And if the men should drive them hard one day, all the flock will die. They cannot run with horses. You have to take them at a slower pace. Please let my Lord go on ahead before his servant. I will lead on slowly at a pace which the livestock that go before me and the children are able to endure until I come to my Lord in Seir. So to become a head of a family in the house of God, you have to be considerate of the pace of children and of animals. You cannot expect, as a father, to run through the land on horses and let the children and the cattle try to keep up with the horses. That is why the headship of Jesus and the headship of the fathers and the households is based on sacrifice. You become the head because you are the only one who is able to sacrifice. And if the leaders, the house band, the man who holds the family together does not know how to sacrifice and know how to be considerate of children and animals, they're no longer the head. And whoever is able, and they can demand it, I'm the head of the house. I'll quote you a Bible text. I'm the head of the house. It won't happen because the head has to do the sacrificing. So if the man is not willing to sacrifice and the sacrifice falls upon the woman becomes the head of the house, even if the man demands it. To be the head in God's house, you have to be the servant, you have to be the sacrifice, just like Jesus. God takes special consideration for orphans and widows because they have no one who will be the sacrifice. Will not provide the sacrifice for them. And Esau said, now let me leave with you some of the people who are with me. But he said, what need is there? Let me find favor in the sight of my Lord. That's all I want from you, is just your favor. Just show me a happy face. That's all I want. God gives me everything I need. Esau returned that day on his way to Seir, and Jacob journeyed to Sukkot. Sukkot is a booth. And he built himself a house and made booths for his livestock. That's what Sukkot means. And he lived there, caring for his flocks and caring for his children there. The construction of Esau's posse of 400 men, which seems to be very similar, if my memory serves me correctly, to what Abraham had armed and trained servants to rescue Lot and the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah, about the same size. But it is configured in a square of 1040s. The heavenly city is in a square of 144,000. The house of God is different from the construction of power and the construction of ambition in the world. The house of God is based on people who follow the Lamb wherever he goes. And who are willing to sacrifice for the home. Do you understand the Bible? Do you understand the sacrifice? Do you understand the prophecy? Do you understand the forever home in heaven that's built on little booths in our Father's house? You can't get to heaven unless you sacrifice. And if you sacrifice, you become the head like Jesus. Pretty deep, huh? Our families get torn apart because of culture. Our families get torn apart because of the lands we grow up in, the places we grow up in, and what we pick up as a model for a family. But unless your house is built on the Lord and his angels to protect you and the accommodation of God in your home, you do not have a family. It's an illusion. It's a delusion if you think you have a family without accommodating God and claiming his promises. So let's stand. The Lord in heaven bless you and keep you, and cause his face to shine upon you, and give you everything that you have and everything that is enough to be happy in this world. And if you go to work and you just see an angry face, be generous to the angry face, whether it's a coworker or the boss. Put a smile on their face. Share your lunch. Bring a piece of pie from home as a gift to put a smile on their face. Be generous in life. Resolve conflicts with generosity and looking for the face of God. Remember what Jesus said, "Lo, I am with you always, even to the end of the world." Amen.